Joshua Smith here, and welcome to the GSD Mode Podcast. Now get shit done and smash that subscribe button now. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Podcast interview. Every single week, I interview top real estate professionals, top entrepreneurs, and straight up top badasses that are out there dominating their space. They're people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, for their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, we have another amazing rock star guest on the show. Our guest today, Chris Stevens. Chris is a real estate agent, real estate investor, team leader, as well as a brokerage owner of a Keller Williams franchise with over 520 agents, and just continues to grow and expand and create more and more success. And Chris breaks down his personal journey, how he's created so much personal success in these different ventures that he's personally been on, as well as we go deep into what real estate agents inside his brokerage are doing, and the top teams top teams and top agents that he coaches and oversees and so forth. So it's filled with so much amazing information. Chris shares so much amazing information that I know you will love. Now, real quick, before we jump into this, if you haven't already, make sure to snag my new book, Dominate Your Real Estate Business, Top Tips from a Top Producer. These are top tips, strategies, methods that I've utilized and implemented inside my personal real estate business that have allowed me to become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet. 100% free, nothing being sold. There's no fluff in this. No, it's not filled with a bunch of BS stories. I just get right to the point, and again, giving you top tips and strategies to help you dominate your real estate business. And again, 100% free. You can go right now to joshuasmithfreebook.com. Again, joshuasmithfreebook.com. It'll be emailed instantaneously to you, and you can start reading this now. All right, let's jump into this amazing podcast interview with Chris. All right, Chris, my man, so stoked and honored to have you here on the GSD Mode Podcast.
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. No, I'm so excited to have you here, man. We got introduced through a mutual friend, and man, I love being able to have the opportunity to interview and pick brains of people in the industry like yourself. And what I mean by that is not only you have had a lot of success as a real estate agent, but now in the leadership and that standpoint of it. So you've really been able to see all the different elements, I guess, of the business. And there's so much that we can learn from you. And, before we get into all the things that you guys are doing today, because you're just on fire and continue to grow, I'm always intrigued in our guest journeys that led them here in the first place. So if we're on the clocks, man, like how did this real estate journey start in the first place for you?
It's a great question. I don't think we have enough time, but I'll give you the Cliff Note version of it. I started my journey in hospitality for about 20 years. Went to the CIA in New York to school, and then after that traveled. I lived in Aspen, Colorado for a bunch of years. Worked out there, and then in Hawaii for a while, and came back home to New Jersey where I used to live, and worked my way up the ranks. And then, worked with Wolfgang Puck for a bunch of years, and then just realized that I owned a bunch of restaurants. And then I got to a point where I got burnt out. The restaurant business or the hospitality industry is tough. It's very demanding, and it's a lot of long hours. So some of my friends were in real estate, and I'd always see them going to birthday parties and other parties on the weekends and going on vacations, and I was always working. And I thought to myself, there's got to be a better way, right? And so I made a jump years ago to get my real estate license. And my thought was, hey, you know what? Maybe I can still do what I'm doing, do real estate part-time, and then kind of segue into real estate full-time once I build up a book of business. And I kind of gave myself 6 months to really get going. And I just cold turkey, just went right in from my other job, right into real estate, and started off with Remax and then over to Keller Williams. And I never looked back. I used the same philosophy in hospitality as I did in real estate, which is it's a customer service-based business. Take care of your customers, take care of the people that are around you, and surround yourself with really, really great people that are smarter than you. And you really can't go wrong. My work ethic has always been good. I never had to worry about, how hard I worked. And compared to the hospitality industry, and this is like a vacation. So, and it's kind of got me to where I am right now.
Yeah. What would you say, coming from that industry, because I mean, that's an industry where margins are extremely thin. And, my brother runs a restaurant in Oregon, and he started off in the chef, role, and
Sure.
he still does a lot of that, but now he's, also run this whole restaurant. He's like, man, he's like, half my time is in the office trying to get a better deal on toilet paper and napkins and because the margin that they break you or make you, right? And so with that being said, because it sounds like it laid the foundation, and maybe you had this before the hospitality industry, but the work ethic. And I'm just really curious with being in such a low margin industry and having to really pay attention to those numbers, like how that impacted and accelerated your success for this industry that we're in.
Yeah, I mean, I failed forward, that's for sure. I mean, losing a lot of money at some point, and learning my lessons from that, and learning how to manage a P&L, and how to, just like your brother, right, is how to save every penny, because the margins are thin. You're talking about, a 25 to 28 food cost, and if you have an liquor license, you're looking at anywhere between 16 and 18% as far as liquor costs. So plus you add in your labor and your rent, or your mortgage if you own it. It's really, really, really thin. And if you don't manage your money right, man, you could be out of business really quickly. That's why the failure rate in hospitality is so high, because people that have a few bucks that have never been in the business, that say, oh, it's sexy to go open up a restaurant. Well, they find out relatively quickly, like, hey, maybe I shouldn't have done this, because I have friends that come to me and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking about opening up a restaurant. And I'll tell them, take all the money you own, get in your ticket, put it in a suitcase, go in a car, go down the PA Turnpike, open up the window and throw it out. Because basically that's what you're doing. I mean, and not every situation is like that. I mean, you really have to be around some really, really talented people in order to make it successful. It's just a hard business, So I learned a lot of lessons, how to managing money, how to deal with certain situations. It helped me grow as a person, as a leader. And I really, truly believe it set me up for where I am right now.
Yeah. Well, and now we fast forward to today, and, I mean, this will live on the internet and on YouTube forever, but recording this, we're thick into this COVID-19 mess, and that'd be a tough industry to be involved in right now, man. I can't even fathom.
Crazy. I know. I obviously have a lot of colleagues and friends in the restaurant business that both work and own, and it's sad. The small business person, not just in hospitality but in any industry, is really hurting right now. But hospitality is the number one field or industry that's hurting the most right now, and we do all we can to help and support the local businesses, especially restaurants, as much as we can, because I know how hard it is, first and foremost, So I'm glad that I'm not in that industry anymore. I definitely feel for those people, but yet the ones that have grit and the ones that manage their money correctly and take care of their employees are the ones that are going to come through this.
Yep. Love it, man. So, walk us through when you made that transition and that pivot, because, man, it's, I mean, the industry that you were in previous to this is a quote industry, but, I mean, there's also a very high failure rate for real estate agents, and those first couple of years are so important, and so many agents with those. And like, what did you do when you made the transition, in those first, year, 2 years, that, because in order to create the level of success that you've created, like, number one, you got to stay in the game, right? And, build that foundation that allowed to accelerate you to all the amazing things you're doing today. So, walk us through, what was the year like? Like, what were things that you did where you didn't wind up becoming a statistic like so many do, unfortunately?
Yeah. First year is always the tough year in real estate when you're first starting out, trying to learn the business, get leads. And that for a lot of people is the hardest thing to do. And I always tell people now, just go with your immediate sphere, like your friends and your family, people that the people that love and care about you, that want to help you. and start there and work out that way. Because, it's a referral based business. But it's, when the referrals dry out, you have to figure out how to bring in more leads. And I figured that out early in through the broker I was with. And he gave me some great advice. He's like, hey, listen, I know you know a lot of people. Tap into all those people that let them know what you're doing right now. And while we're on it, my biggest fear was I was the expert in hospitality, but I was no longer the expert in real estate at that point. And, I was going to go to people I knew and they want to entrust me to either buy or sell their home. And it made me feel a little uneasy because I was almost a little embarrassed, to be honest with you, just because I'm the newbie on the block now. Right. And, once I got over that, and I quickly got over it, but once I got over it, I let the world know what I was doing. And I think that's when the floodgates opened for me. And I was able to really just use the same strategy I did in hospitality as I did in real estate. And that was take care of people, be kind to people, lead with integrity, study hard, know your business, know your numbers. If you're the local expert, be the local expert. And that's how I started my business, and then obviously pick the brains of people that have done it before you at a high level. And I was just a sponge, and I'm still like that. I still look at myself as a rookie. You know what I mean? I'm always learning and always growing. I think that successful people always have that mindset.
Yeah, I love that, man. And just out of curiosity, that fear that you talked about, that newbie. I mean, I think it's something that every new agent goes through. I know I did, and I know that you probably get this a lot because you guys are always adding new agents, over 400 agents and so forth today. What was that thing that you did that clicked, that gave you that confidence? I mean, was it just time, or was it an experience, or what was that thing that, again, allowed you to have that confidence where now it's like, okay, hey, I can go out there. I'm confident enough to go out there and share with the world of what I'm now doing.
I think confidence comes when you know your craft, and I got to a point where I was comfortable, knowing the agreement of sale and knowing my community and knowing how to do comps and, kind of the stuff that you have to know, right, to be a real estate agent. So once I got comfortable with that, the rest of it was like easy for me, like going to a home and doing a listing presentation or doing a buyer presentation was easy for me because I was so used to being around people, so my talent was always being able to go up and down with people, in regards to, like, some people are high D's, some are like S and C's in the disc profile, and I'm able to kind of go up and down. And so I've always been able to do that and connect with people. So that part of it made me very likable.
Yeah, love it, man. So then you start having success as an individual agent. What's the journey been from, going from an individual agent now to, running, one of the top Keller Williams franchises in the country with over 400 agents and so forth? Like, what was that kind of
520
journey
to be exact.
520. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So you guys are, yeah. I mean, I think I got the 400 from your website or wherever, but I mean, it's
all good.
Massive growth, man.
It's
right.
Semantics.
So, yeah. No, I love it, man. So what was that journey like from starting to create success as an individual agent? Kind of walk us through what that timeline looked like to what led you where you are now.
So it was relatively a short amount of time, till I got into a leadership role. When I transferred to Keller Williams, my whole goal was to build a team, do real estate sales at a high level. And, I was doing sales in the suburbs, but I really wanted to be where the heavy hitters were. And I kind of wanted to, learn from them. So I don't live in the city. I live in Bucks County, and I was willing to, take the train or drive into the city. And I was good with that, just to be around the best. And there was an opportunity to run the brokerage at that time. And, I didn't know anything about running a brokerage, but I did know how to lead people. And I think that is where the connection was with the then operating principal that was there. And so after about 6 months of like kind of going back and forth and talking to my wife, not really sure if this was the right opportunity for me. I mean, listen, again, it was a little scary. Me going into a role that I knew nothing about and giving up my sales to go into this, was kind of like jumping off the cliff, you know what I mean? And hoping that the wings come out, and so I've always been that way. I've always been daring, and I've always just went for it. And I did some due diligence, and I figured, hey, you know what? If I take this position, I'm going to be around some of the best in the business. So it's an opportunity for me to learn from them, and then also be able to lead people that maybe didn't have the leadership that they had before. So, and that's just the way I approached it. And that's what got me in the door at Keller Williams. It was Center City, it used to be called Keller Williams Center City. And then recruited a big brokerage called the Condo Shop back in 2017, 18, and became really good friends with one of the owners, Goroff, who's now my partner, and runs a very, very successful team and has some other businesses as well. And there was an opportunity to buy the brokerage in September of 2018, and we did. I had, during that whole due diligence period, had gotten approached from Compass to be the regional director for them, and had made me an offer. And I wasn't sure if this deal that we were going through was going to go through at some point. So, I had to look at my options. I never want to leave Keller Williams. I mean, everything that Keller Williams offers in regards to having opportunities and having to be able to grow into other leadership roles, you just can't get that with any other brokerage. Not to mention the technology and all the support and education. So we bought out the previous operating principal September 2018. We went from 236 agents in September of 2018 to 520 today. So tremendous growth. And we have all A+ players on the team now in our leadership team. Everyone just operates at a really high level. And the reason we've gotten from where we were then to where we are now is a big testament to all the work that they've done and that we've done collectively as a team.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. When it comes to that type of growth, we see this happen with a lot of teams and most brokerages where, they stay small, I see a lot of brokerages kind of like that 50 count or whatever, and they're never able to really, whether it's the momentum or kind of put the right pieces together. And I have a team, not a brokerage. So I don't know the answer to this, but,
sure.
What were some of those key things that you guys did that allowed to really accelerate that big growth?
You have to have a stickiness to your brokerage in regards to what you offer and what's your value proposition inside of your brokerage. And if you're going to, I hate the word recruit, but if you're going to bring in talent from another brokerage into yours, you got to have something to bring them into, and that's the way we looked at it. We worked from the inside out, made sure that we had a really tight A+ player leadership team in place. We made sure that we have a full concierge program right now where we offer media, which is photography, videography, Matterport, drone, virtual, at a discount for all of our agents. We have a full marketing platform where a lot of it's free for our agents. So if you're an agent coming from XYZ Realty and you come over to Keller Williams, Philadelphia, and you're like, hey, Chris, you know what? I don't really have a brand because my brand was their brokerage brand. I want to have my own identity. You would come up with a logo design and make sure you have branding and marketing material, and it'd all be for free. And I'll come back to what we're talking about, but I'll go back to when I was considering Compass. The one thing about Compass was their technology and their marketing. And I knew once I wasn't going there and I was staying with KW and we bought the brokerage that we had to be competitive. We had to come up with some type of concierge type program. And the marketing was a big piece to that, right? So that's something we offer for our agents. And then we offer transaction management. So if you come in, whether you're an individual agent or a smaller team or even a bigger team, and you need help in transaction management, whether it's conveyancing or contract to close, we have that, and it's at a discount. And Lauren, who leads our transaction management service, is just amazing, incredible. And we're starting a lead generation program where we're going to offer listing leads and buyer leads for agents. So we're really going after that dependent, interdependent, and independent model, right? Because the dependent agents are the ones that don't want to lead generate, right? And they just want to either buy leads from Zillow or realtor.com or just hope they get referrals, right? There are agents like that out there. And for us to be able to offer leads to those types of agents, I think is pretty powerful, and there's the interdependent agents that want to have those services available for them to be able to utilize them and be able to have their own brand. And I think those are the agents that are doing real estate at a really high level, are the ones that really entrepreneurially are taking their business and treating it as a business, and then you have the independent agents that kind of, have part-time jobs and whether they're in referral or not, and just want to pay their cap or whatever it is. And they're not fully engaged, in the brokerage or in their business, and it's okay. It is what it is. So that's the reason why we came up with the concierge type program. And you got to be able to cater to, most of your agents, if not all of them, in some regard. Our education is phenomenal. We have a ton of classes. We do masterminds. We create, a family type culture within our organization. Myself and Goroff and the whole team are accessible. I think that's really important. As an agent, if you have a question or a problem, you want to be able to call the broker or call me or call someone from the leadership team and answer the phone or respond to an email or a text. So we take all that very seriously. Our agents are our clients. That's the way we deal with it.
Yeah, I love that, man. And it's from the realtor perspective, right? Because I'm not a brokerage, I'm just a realtor, if you will. It's I don't want to say a shame or sad to see, but that most just don't operate in that manner, right? And you guys, it sounds like, just kind of have this obsession of, and at the end of the day, whoever pays you money is your client. And without your agents, 100%. You guys don't, you don't exist. And meeting them where they're at based on where their business is at and being able to give them those different services based on that, man, it's so powerful. I love that. And, you talked about several times is building that A-player leadership team. And, so many people talk about, you got to have A players and so forth, right? But I don't know if most really know what that truly means and how to build it. What are some of the keys? What do you define as an A player? Right? And then what are some of the keys to? Because it's we hear things like A players don't want to be with B players, right? And
sure,
right people, and but you got to be able to find them, and you got to make sure that they're true A players. And it sounds like that's been such a foundational thing to make sure that support system is right. That way, it continues the support for all of your agents. And what would you say some of those big keys are when it comes to developing that A player leadership team?
I think finding talent is really hard, and once you find it, you have to be ready for it. You have to be ready to build a world that's big enough that they fit inside of. And if you don't, they start getting outside of that world, they're going to leave. And, some things that we look for, character, integrity, are real important to us. We have a process called KPA, which is a Keller Personality Assessment. It's a career visioning process that we put everyone through before we hire them. And it can take as long as 4 months, 5 months. We go 3 deep on references, and it's just a really intense process. And the candidate gets to learn more about us and the company, and we get to learn more about that person. And, there's a personal side to it that we dive deep into, because we really want to know who we're getting in the business with, right? You wouldn't just go and marry anybody, right? So you'd want to date first, and you want to see if you're compatible, and this is what this whole process is really like. So that's a big part of it. But for us as an organization, we allow our leadership team to be part of that interview process and saying, hey, what did you think? And if the majority of them don't like that candidate, we just don't move forward, and we have to have buy-in from everyone. And it's really important to us because they're all working together, right? And if you're gonna work with someone, you have to like them. You have to be somewhat compatible. Doesn't mean you have to go break bread and go out for a drink, but it does mean that you have to be professional. It does mean at some point, right, there's going to be some type of social activity that it's not weird, that everyone just gets along. And it's also important that everyone's rowing in the same direction. If you have someone that's in one department that's just kind of doing their own thing and everyone else is on the same page, with our mission, vision, and values, that one person is going to self-select themselves out of the position because it's just not going to work, right? So I think all those are just really, really important. And I can't emphasize enough the personal connection or side to it that's really, really important to really deep dive into. I mean, someone can hand you a resume and you can look at it and be impressed, but you got to go much deeper than that to really get to know that person.
Yeah. Yep. 100%, man. I'm curious with, I mentioned in the interview that when we were talking about your restaurant experience, we're still in the thick of this COVID-19 thing. It's starting to, lighten up in some areas and so forth. But man, it's been a tough transition for a lot of agents, a lot of brokers as well, just a lot of people. You guys have been able to continue to grow and expand during this time. I mean, what were some of the, but in order to do that, like you've got to be able to pivot with the changes, see the opportunities at hand and so forth. What were, some of the things that you guys have done that have allowed you to stuck in the chaos, if you will, but be able to go out there and take the necessary actions and continue to grow during this tough time where most are just still trying to survive?
It's a great question. I think it's, that saying that luck is when preparedness meets opportunity, right? And for us, we were prepared for this, even though we didn't know anything about COVID. Indirectly, we were ready for it. And it's because of just having really high standards and making sure that we take care of the people that take care of us, making sure that we have models and systems in place, making sure that we follow through those concierge services, making sure that we operate our P&L at a really, really high level, that our profitability is really good. And, we go back to restaurants, some of the restaurants that really ran their business the right way had a good amount of reserves and are able to kind of get through these tough times right now. The ones that didn't run their business that way and lived paycheck to paycheck, if you will, are the ones that are out of business. So part of it is people not running their business the right way, for some. And I think for us, we're running our business the right way, which is allowing us to get through COVID at a high level and take advantage of the opportunities. And, for investors in real estate, this is a great opportunity, especially first quarter of 2021, to sit on the sidelines and kind of wait for some of that forbearance to come due. People aren't going to be able to pay their loans. There's going to be REOs and short sales, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity for people that have cash on the sidelines. So I use that example because it's the same type of mentality that we have, moving through COVID right now, and just being able to be ready and prepared. And we really didn't skip a beat. I mean, be honest with you, we had the best July and August that we've ever had in the middle of COVID.
Yeah.
And part of that is because we were kind of shut down and the floodgates open. So I attribute some of that to that, but not all of it. I really do believe that's the reason why we've operated our businesses at a high level.
Yeah, no, I love that, man. So, when it comes to the growth that you guys have experienced, I know this might sound hard for those that are watching and listening that haven't experienced rapid growth, but there's sometimes growth pains can be worse than slow pains,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And they exist, man. It can be difficult. What have been some of the, biggest challenges that you guys have had to overcome and shift and pivot with, through this accelerated growth that you've been experiencing?
It's a great question because it's something that we talk about a lot now. With growth comes challenges, and we've had some, we pride ourselves on growing because it creates more opportunities for other people that want to grow within the organization. But at the same token, you have to have a bench. You have to have someone on DH to come in and be able to get right into the game. And, we had some challenges with that over the past year where we've grew so fast that we didn't really, we weren't ready for it, to be honest with you. And we had to quickly pivot and find some talent quickly. And, thank God we know some, a good recruiter, and we tapped into, her name's Lindsay Cipriani. We tapped into her, and she found us some talent, and, we plugged the hole, so to speak. And, but then, there's the ramp up process where you have to train that person. So it's not immediate. So, there's been some pain along the way for sure. And my advice would be for people out there that are going through tremendous growth, which is a good thing, is that you build a bench at the same time, even if it's going to hurt your bottom line a little bit to pay someone, extra money for a position that may not be ready then. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't have people that are kind of waiting on the bench to kind of come into that role. You have to almost foresee it before it happens, and be ready for it. That's the best way to explain it.
How do you foresee that? Because it can be tough to have that foresight of what the right position may be or what that right person is. I mean, what are some of the things, it sounds like, you're a student, still at this point, student of the game, and never stop
Absolutely.
learning, and surround yourself with, great mentors and so forth, but what is really, the best way that you found to be able to prepare for that foresight?
I think you gotta have a GPS to kind of know where you're going. Your business needs to have a GPS. You need a GPS, and then you kind of got to break it down. And we have a thing called 4-in-1, and what it is it's a 1-year goal. Activities that you have to do in 1 year, and then 1 month, and then 4 weeks. And each week, activities that support the 1 month that supports the 1 year. And I'm a firm believer, in time blocking and being accountable, and results are the only thing that matters, right? We're all measured by results. And if our goal, let's just say, I use an example, to own 20 brokerages in 20 years, then there has to be a footprint for it. There has to be a blueprint in order to do that, right? So when I say 4C, if our goal is to own 20 brokerages, I'm going to tell you exactly what we need to do and how we need to do it to get there, and then who we need. And I think that's the same approach that we take to anything that we do. The concierge services, getting to 1,000 agents, opening up multiple market centers, open up other joint ventures that we're working on. I mean, all that stuff just creates more opportunities for people. And I think that's how you grow organically, and you grow the right way.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, at least for most of us, like, we're not Elon Musk trying to revolutionize, interstellar space travel and build something that hasn't been built before. I mean, for most of us, trying to create, somebody's either built it, whether it's in our industry or a parallel industry, but there are models that we can follow and so forth.
You need, in any business, I believe you need a visionary and you need integrators. And it's hard to get one person to do both, and I know for me, I'm a big visionary, and I'm good with some integration. But we have people on our team that are really good integrators, and I think you need a good combination of both of those to really be successful. I think that's really important.
No, I was just curious if you read the book Traction.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great book.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree, man. So I'm really curious concierge service and the things that you guys have, one tough thing, and I experienced this in team as well, challenges, getting buy-in. It's like we can provide these great new tools or services, getting our agents to plug in and buy into them and utilize those services to grow their business. What are some things that you guys have found that have helped gain that buy-in so your agents are taking advantage of these amazing services, having success?
Well, we started with the media part of it in regards to photography, videography. And if you're going to have agents, buy into that and utilize it, you have to do it at a high level. And the price point has to be cheaper than what they're paying now, right? For some of the best services they're getting currently with their vendor, whoever they're using. And what we figured out was if we can offer the same, if not better quality for a cheaper price and better service, and it's internal, they can kind of control the transaction, why wouldn't you do it, right? So it took us a little while to ramp up, and gradually, and I don't mind this, right? Growing slow, and you kind of work out the kinks, and you're gonna fail at some things, and you're gonna fix it and move on. And we got to a point where people were like, "Wow, man, Jeremy does an amazing job. His videos are amazing. Photography is great. Mataport's awesome. We're doing virtual staging now. He's absolutely killing it. He did a demo the other day in our team meeting. People are just blown away. So I think that's how you approach it. And we did the same thing with transaction coordination and now marketing. I think that you just need proof of concept, and once you can prove that concept, and some people, like the heavy hitters, start using it, then people start following. It's like the laws of attraction, right? And once you keep that momentum going and you keep it going, it's great. I mean, we're at a point right now where we're actually looking to other KW brokerages outside of our brokerage to utilize our services, right? So why just stop at our brokerage? Why not, if we're doing such a great job, why not take that model and then break out the ceiling and keep going,
Yep.
And that's our vision.
Yeah, love that, man. What do you think that is really important? We're getting closer and approaching 2021 fast.
Yep.
What are some of the important things, whether it's an individual agent or team leader or whatever, but to really be focused on, we're seeing a lot of changes in the industry and so everything's always changing, but what are some important things that you're seeing that are maybe even more important than the past that agents really be paying attention to with, these continued changes that we're seeing and going to continue to see?
There's a bunch of things. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is, cut the fat off the bone. Don't cut the bone, but cut the fat off in regards to expenses. Make sure that you're watching what you spend. Make sure it's, dollar productive. And then the other thing too is, how are you lead genning right now? How are you getting leads? Make sure you're utilizing the technology in regards to KW. If we're talking about KW, utilize the technology that we have in order to produce leads at a really, really nominal cost, if not free. And leverage the market center, leverage the brokerage that you're in. As far as from an education standpoint, use the analytics that we have when you go on a listing presentation. Make sure that the people that are in your database, that you're nurturing them. Make sure that the happy birthdays, the anniversaries, the care calls on how you're doing. Hey, did you know there's 2 houses down just sold for, 25% over what you paid 3 years ago? Like stuff like that. I think you have to be creative. I think you really, really just have to come from contribution and caring right now. A lot of people, right now are in a tough place, whether it be financially or mentally. And you have to take that into consideration. So you've had plenty of time, right, over since March 15th or 14th to contact your database, feed it, make sure that you're calling those people and connecting with them. Plenty of time. If you're just starting to do that right now, someone else is taking your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, man. when you look at, when you mentioned people are hurting, you know, I heard a statistic recently that suicide hotlines are up like 800%, you know, right now during
That's
this time.
crazy.
You know, yeah, I mean, it's a great time for the real estate community to really step up and really treat your database as your own community and just be there for people, man, and show that compassion. And yeah, I love that, man. You know, I know none of us have a crystal ball, but I'm going to ask it just because I get asked this about 5 times a day, you know, right, between podcast listeners and so forth.
Sure.
You know, everybody wants to know what's going to happen with the real estate market. And I know there's different facets of it between commercial, residential, and it also can be hyper local. You know, we're already like New York City starting to you know, be hindered and stuff. But you know, I mean, what's your best guess of where the real estate market's headed over the next several years?
It's funny. People ask like Gary Keller the same question all the time, right? And he's like, I don't have a crystal ball. But what I can tell you for sure, you know, based on the numbers that I've seen, I know that, and we talked about this a little bit before, the forbearance is going to come due. I think that in the first quarter of 2021, there's going to be more. I think there'll start to be more inventory, just because people can't pay their loans, unfortunately. And the market as we know it, you know, for the past 10 years, it's not going to be the same. You know, we're way overdue for a correction, you know, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think the next year is still going to be a great year. I still think real estate is going to be a really good year. After that, I can't really tell you, but I can tell you for the next year, at least in Philadelphia County and the suburbs, Montgomery County, Bucks County, we should be good for another year. And rates are almost free money at this point, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, it'd be an interesting ride for sure. I mean, we've really, you know, I mean, obviously COVID's a new experience, but even before COVID, you know, record high consumer debt and, you know, the shrinkage of the middle class and so forth. And it definitely will be some interesting times. That's for sure.
I think commercial's in a different boat. We're already seeing, you know, unfortunately, a lot of commercial brokerages not doing well right now. There's a lot of, you know, vacant space within the city. And look at the locations that we have right now. You know, we don't have a lot of agents coming to the brokerages. Just imagine other businesses, you know, and, you know, when you see a lot of commercial signs up everywhere, it's never usually a good thing. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how the commercial sector does, you know, over the next year. And a lot of it hinges on what happens with COVID, right? If COVID comes back in the fall and the winter and we get shut down again, you know, God, I hope not, but that'll change everything.
Yeah. And it's one of these things that, look, when it comes to those big shifts like that, there's things that are fully out of our control per se.
Sure.
But it doesn't mean that real estate agents' businesses need to be hindered, you know, right? Because here's what the cool thing is real estate's always trading hands. You know,
sure.
Right? I mean, I was as busy in 2008, 2009, 2010 as I've ever been. You know, it's just we had to pivot to a different type of clientele, if you will. But what do you think, or what would you say or recommend or advice that you're giving your agents to prepare for any shift that may come, to put yourself in the best position to be able to, you know, just pivot and adapt?
We've been training on the shifting market for a year, but even more so when COVID hit in March. We had shift classes. I'm not sure if you read Gary's book, you know, Shift, yep. But we've done a lot of training on the shift, and one of the biggest things that you can do is watch your expenses, you know, and where to cut the fat, so to speak, in your expenses, and then not paying money to Zillow or realtor.com for leads, right? Being able to self-generate leads on your own and being able to create your own inventory for listings, you know, some different strategies with that. And I would just tell people out there, you know, don't spend it if you don't have it. We use that red light, green light, you know, and if something in your gut says don't spend it, that means don't spend it, right? But if it's something that's going to give you, your 400% return on your money, on a lead that you got through expired or withdrawn, then by all means, absolutely do it. Right. You just have to be smart with how you spend your money and how you run your business. And so education is really important right now, because there's a lot of agents that are looking for, like, hey, how do I do this? How do I do that? How can I leverage this? And the great thing about the KW community is that, we have people from all over the country that we connect with. And if it's something in regards to like lead generating at a high level, there's an agent that could be in California that's really doing it at a high level right now during COVID. And I'll get that person on a Zoom call, and then we'll have all our agents come on the Zoom call and we have a mastermind session. Things like that are like really important, because we all don't know everything. And none of us have been in this situation before in regards to COVID. So I think just talking about it and having people that are doing it at a high level right now definitely helps as well.
Yep, 100%, man. And going back to you personally, because man, I mean, you got a lot on your plate, right? You got this brokerage that continues to grow, plus I know you do a lot in the investment side personally.
And I have a team. I have a real estate team as well. Yep.
Yeah, team, and then you're coaching, and then you have a life outside of it too. Right?
Yep.
What are, and it always seems that the busiest and also most successful figure out a way to get it all done. So it can't be a time management issue, right? It's got to be a intentional kind of thing, and the better intentional that utilize their time in the right manners. And I'm curious, what you do, whether it's a planning, scheduling standpoint, but to be able to get all this stuff done, and not just get it all done, but continue to grow it and expand it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think time blocking is really important. My calendar is color coded, and it starts with mindset in the morning. Workout at 5 a.m., eating right, taking care of yourself. Mindset, especially now with COVID and everything else going on in the world today, is just having a really good mindset and not letting distractions get in the way of your progress. And I focus on big rocks, the big rocks that are my family, which is my agents, and the big rocks, which is bringing talent into the organization, and then the meetings and other things like the little rocks, I get to those in the afternoon or the next day. But the ones that produce 80% of the results is what I focus on. And it works for me. I've learned to say no to some things. If someone needs me to do a Zoom call or something, hey, I can't do it now, but maybe I can do it on this day, right? So I used to be a yes person because I wanted to be everyone to everybody. And I learned my lesson with that you can't, because then you miss meetings and you commit to something that you can't do. And what I learned was, you have to time block everything. And when you time block, you got to make sure whatever is on your calendar should be on your GPS, or your goals should be on your calendar. And I feel that if you're going to operate at a really high level and be able to leverage and do multiple things, that you need the right people, you need to be able to time block, and you need to know what your goals are, and they need to be on your calendar, and you need to be hyper-focused on that.
Yeah, love it, man. So I'm curious, with continued growth that you guys have, you have like a long-term vision of where you want to take this, long-term, where and I'm curious what that might be.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have a 5-year plan. The organization has a 5-year plan. We want to grow. We want to own multiple, brokerages. Doesn't have to be in the region, could be, outside the region. We're always looking for opportunities. And as I said before, when you bring in opportunities, it creates growth for the organization. So we're looking at starting a property management joint venture. We own 2 title companies. We are starting an insurance company as well, property, casualty, auto, life. All those are joint ventures. So we'll have a bucket of agent investors that are able to buy into it and get dividends every quarter with that. So for us, it's just like starting like joint ventures here and there and there and there, and having agents be able to buy into it, because something we didn't talk about was a lot of agents just depend on their sales. And when you don't have sales and you have no other, passive income buckets, you're SOL, you know what I mean? So for us, part of the training and education is like, hey, you need to focus on building wealth, and what does that look like? Whether it be buying real estate investment properties, or being an owner in the title company or the insurance company or the property management or profit share, or even an owner in the brokerage. It's nice to be able to getting those checks every quarter, when you really, all you're doing is just supporting the company that you invested in, right? So we're just trying every day, figuring out how we can produce more opportunities for our agents. Really, because I truly do believe this. When you take care of everyone else, they take care of you, and that's just our mentality, and that will never change.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love the obsession. It goes back to, it makes me think of Zig Ziglar's quote, of you impact enough people and helping them accomplish their what they want, you'll get what you
get what you want. Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And one last question for you before we jump into that. For those that are watching and listening, man, if they're in your market and want to have a conversation with you about joining your amazing brokerage and everything that you got to be a part of, this amazing, thing that you guys have built and continue to expand. Or, maybe they're in another market, but they have a client moving referral for you, or they just want to continue following you and watching on this journey, man. Like, where's the best places to be able to do all of that, get in touch with you, follow you, and so forth?
Sure. Absolutely. So, Chris Stevens, Chris at kwphiladelphia.com. We have 17 locations in and around Philadelphia, also King of Prussia, Conshohocken, that whole Montgomery County area. So we're in the city, also in the burbs. You can reach me at 609-558-9668. That's the best way to reach me. And I think the best thing about our brokerage is that we have so many different locations that if you work out of Philly and you have a closing that's in King of Prussia, you're able to do the closing in King of Prussia at our office, and vice versa. If you're in the suburbs and you're in Northern Liberties, you're able to go to Fishtown office and be able to go there and do a closing. So it's nice for agents that kind of just don't do business in the city or just don't do business in the suburbs and kind of do both. It's nice to have that flexibility, not to mention all the support that you get.
Yeah, love it, man. And those that are watching and listening, wherever you're at, so whatever medium, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, if you just scroll below, we'll have all of Chris's information, contact information, website links, all of that below to make it super easy on you guys. And so, Chris, I'm curious, man, of, with everything now today, and the amazing success journey that you've been on and so forth, if Chris today could go back in time and have a conversation with, younger Chris when you first started this journey, and give yourself 2 pieces of advice that you feel would have really just, fast forwarded this success path that you're on, what would those 2 pieces of advice look like?
This is an easy one for me, Josh, because it's something I actually think about a lot. I'm glad you brought it up. Who you're in business with matters. So surround yourself with people that are way smarter than you. That's the first one. I've been around some really talented people, but I also had some partners that didn't really help me. And then the second thing is managing your money the right way. If I learned more about what a dollar really means when I was younger, I would have had more of it back then. So I certainly, spending money foolishly, whether you think you're not, and just really understanding the finance of it, I think is really, really important, especially now. So you asked me 2 things that I would tell myself with my younger version. Those would be the 2 things.
Yeah, love it. Powerful stuff, man. And Chris, I know how busy you are, man, and the fact that you took time out of your busy to be here with us truly means a lot. It was a huge honor, and just thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, brother. This really was great. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, 100%. My those watching and listening, as always, we truly appreciate you being here. Truly appreciate all your support. Keep up the amazing work. Keep kicking ass, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Got it. Thanks, Josh. See you, buddy.
I hope you enjoyed this GSD Mode podcast episode. Now make sure you get shit done and smash that subscribe button now.